Good morning, or good evening, I should say, ladies and gentlemen. All of y'all out there in listening land. Welcome to KTEM 1400 on your AM dial. And welcome to the Common Sense with Conn call-in radio talk show. It's a show we have every Saturday from 12 until 2. And the purpose of the show is not for y'all to hear me sit up here for 2 hours and talk about things. The purpose of the show is for y'all to call in and bring up the subject you want to talk about, and let's have a conversation. I'm not here to preach you a sermon. I'm not here to deliver a speech of any kind. I'm just here to kind of carry on a conversation. And I enjoy having a good, common sense conversation with common people about common problems. Now, one thing I do request of you is keep your language civil. I don't. We don't care to hear any foul language and that kind of thing on this show. In fact, there's a off button on the telephone that we can punch if we hear that kind of language. Admittedly, I'm kind of old-fashioned. I was raised with old traditional values, and one of those values is we don't talk like that. And if you want to use the F word in every sentence, don't bother to call this show. I am not part of the Hollywood crowd or the late night talk show host crowd that likes to refer to Donald Trump with the F word. So if you care to do that, you're calling the wrong show. At any rate, there's a lot of things to talk about today. A lot of things in the news. Some are very troubling. Some are encouraging. I seem to see more of the discouraging news than I do the encouraging news. What encourages me is to see the protection of liberty and freedom and constitutional law. That's what I like to see. What really discourages me is when I see so many people trying to abolish or destroy constitutional law, the amendments to the Constitution that keeps us free, and traditional value. There seems to be a move today in the country to abolish traditional value. I would submit to you that America is the strongest, greatest nation in the history of the world. Why? Because of the traditional values that we have practiced in this country for 230 years. That's what keeps us strong. It's what keeps us moral. It's what keeps us right, knowing right from wrong. I've said before, when you sacrifice truth at the altar of political correctness, you done made a hell of a bad mistake. And that's what we're doing. It seems that political correctness rules the day, not truth. I don't care if you're talking about a corporation, a business, a family, doesn't matter what you're talking about. If you can't come from a foundation of truth, how do you expect to survive? How do you expect that entity, be it a corporation, a business, a family, a nation, a state, how do you expect it to survive if you don't have a foundation in truth? With me today is a very good friend and a guest on our show. He is from the upper end of Idaho. That is almost in Canada. But he just couldn't stand it until he could fly down here and be on the Common Sense with Conn talk show. So that's not exactly right. But at any rate, he is here as a guest on our show today, and I'll let him introduce himself and tell us what he wants to talk about.
Well, thank you, Mr. Conn. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with you. I'd like to begin my visit here by presenting you with a gift. And the gift has a twofold purpose. The first is, should you find yourself watching mainstream propaganda programs, rather than allowing yourself to get upset and lose control, you merely need to press the simple button to express your sentiments.
Oh my. Well, I'm going to take that home, and anytime the channel gets switched on to CNN or MSNBC, I'm going to punch this button. I'm thinking about just getting a hammer because I'm.
The second purpose of this button is that it is an accurate description of the nonsense that is being fed to the American people, cradle to grave.
Absolutely, it is.
And on the continued theme, I'd like to refer to a quote by a great American that I know that you dearly respect. I'll read you the quote and you tell me who the speaker is. The quote is, "Private and public life are subject to the same rules, and truth and manliness are two qualities that will carry you through this world much better than policy or tact or expediency or any other word that was ever devised to conceal or mystify a deviation from a straight line." Can you tell me who the author of that quote was?
I don't know who said it, but would you please read that again? Truth and what?
Private and public life are subject to the same rules, and truth and manliness are two qualities.
Hold it right there. Truth and manliness. What are we destroying today in this country?
Truth and manliness are two qualities that will carry you through this world much better than policy or tact or expediency or any other word that was ever devised to conceal or mystify a deviation from a straight line.
So we now have universities, colleges, that are trying to destroy what? White supremacy, anything is white, and now they're talking about getting rid of white Christianity. Okay, what is one of the foundations of Christianity? It's a rule that says, "Thou shalt not lie." That's part of Christian principles. It's part of that foundation I was talking about a while ago. You don't have a country based on the lie. Our Constitution is based on a lot of Christian principles, not the least of which is "Thou shalt not lie." Okay, so what's happening today in our political system? It's getting to where the truth don't mean anything. You know, they say whatever benefits their cause.
At any rate, the author of this quote is Robert E. Lee.
Robert E. Lee. Well, now see, Ed has done punched the wrong button.
That reminds me of you, Conn.
Yeah.
That quote is definitely you.
Well, Robert E. Lee is one of my heroes, and I know that that's not a popular thing to say nowadays, but who and what was Robert E. Lee? And we're trying to destroy his image. We're tearing down the statues. We're destroying everything that he was about. Who and what was Robert E. Lee? When Robert E. Lee
This is for you.
was willed, his father willed him, I don't know, I think 136 slaves or something like that. What did he do with them? He freed them. When Robert E. Lee surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant, he gave General Grant his sword. What did General Grant do? He gave it back to him. He wouldn't take his sword. That's how much they respected Robert E. Lee. When Robert E. Lee was offered, after the Civil War, when Robert E. Lee was offered a job, not a job, but they wanted him to endorse some kind of medicine or some kind of product. And they offered him $50,000 to endorse that product. His response was, I will not accept money for work I have not performed. And he turned down the $50,000. And then he took a job as president of Virginia University at 1,500 a year, not 50,000, 1,500. He was a man of integrity. He was a man of character. So, do we want to destroy that image? I guess we do. He was also a man who had prayer before every battle. His uh, number one general, I guess, was Stonewall Jackson. Stonewall Jackson was noted for going into battle with his hand in the air, praying to God before that battle. Stonewall Jackson was one heck of a general. In fact, before his death, I think he was considered the strongest, best military official or in the Western Hemisphere. I mean, he was very revered as a military strategist, whatever. At any rate, these are the people that we're trying to destroy the image of. What do they do in communist Russia when somebody falls out of favor? What do? They take his picture out of the history book. They remove any reference to that person, and he goes away. What are we doing today with Robert E. Lee and other people like that? We're destroying their image. We're destroying their memory, and we're replacing their memory and their image with what? And who? Oh, Robert De Niro in Hollywood, or who are we replacing Robert E. Lee with?
Wasn't Robert De Niro going to leave the country if Donald Trump was elected president?
Yeah, he hadn't left yet. He's still
I wonder
here.
why.
He's still here cussing Donald Trump with vulgarity
And making money.
and making money. And are we listening to that? Now, I think we got a phone call here. Mr. Raymond, are you there?
Ran, and then as time went on into the future, look at what we have now. If you can explain to me, where did this stem and for what reason did it exist back when it first was founded? You have yourself a good day, sir, and God bless.
Well, Raymond, thank you for the question. Boy, you done kicked this sleeping dog now. Okay, folks, I'm going to dedicate that song to me. If you don't like this country, get out of here. Them airplanes leave here every day. Them boats leave here every day. If you don't like the United States, get on one of them. You're free to move to Cuba, Iraq, Iran, North Korea, Red China. There's a lot of places you can move to. If you don't like America, get on one of them airplanes or one of them boats and go on over there. I just hope you have a one-way ticket.
A lot of what you discuss on the program is how did we get to this? I submit to you is the barrage of propaganda that we are constantly assaulted with in the government school system, beginning in the elementary through high school, then magnum doses in college indoctrination centers, the entire media, TV, news, movies, anything controlled by the shadow government and deep state, which is almost everything. It's very similar to advertising. Edward Bernays, who's known as the father of American advertising / propaganda, barrages us with TV commercials. This mentality barrages us with TV commercials and policy and propaganda associated with it to sell you the same thing in the form of commercials as with anti-freedom loving constitutional.
And I've got a question. How much of commercials are selling a product? How much of commercials are propaganda? How much of commercials today on TV are really subliminal messaging? How much of that is true? And I submit to you that an awful lot of our commercials that we see on TV today are just subliminal messages. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, a subliminal message is something that your subconscious registers in your brain, and your conscious doesn't really get it, but it's in your brain anyway. I'll give you an example. AARP Insurance. They have a commercial that comes on, and this lady is saying, "My father just came to live with us, and it's really been great. My father just moved in with us. He's an older fella, and it's just really been great." And then you hear her subliminal message saying, "I have no time for myself. I have so much trouble." So on the one hand, she's saying it's great to have Daddy here living with us, but the subliminal message is, let's just take him out in the backyard and shoot him and get rid of him. So what is the message that you get from AARP insurance commercial?
There used to be a saying, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. That's exactly what's happening today and has been for quite some time.
Yeah, but it's getting worse. See, a lot of this stuff, Ed, started years and years ago, and it came on gradually. But I would submit that they're getting a lot more serious about it because we are being flooded with this kind of stuff. We're being flooded with anti-masculinity, anti-white, anti-freedom, anti-America. We're being flooded with that, and it's very worrisome to me because I keep saying this road we're traveling, where does it go? What does the Democrat Party want to accomplish?
Well, they should actually change their name to the Communist Party because that's basically what they are.
Well,
they've embraced the Marxist policies, and that's the thrust. That's where they're pushing America.
Well, my question is, and I don't tell anybody how to vote. That's you vote your conscience. But not too long ago, there was a march in Killeen, Texas, an anti-Second Amendment march by high school students. The high school students in Killeen, Texas were marching down the highway demonstrating against the Second Amendment to the Constitution. In other words, anti-gun. You know who sponsored the march?
Who sponsored it?
It was on the Temple Daily Telegram newspaper. Who sponsored that march was the NAACP and the Democrat Party.
No surprise there.
Well, it reminded me of the Nazis in World War II. They recruited young kids, and they called them the brown shirts. Adolf Hitler said, I'll quote him, I think, "Give me the youth of a nation, and I'll give you the nation." What were they doing in Killeen, Texas, recruiting high school students to demonstrate against our constitutional right to keep and bear arms?
Tell a big lie long enough and it will be accepted as truth.
That's right. So, but my question now is, how is it that in Bell County, Texas, gun-owning, Bible-carrying, Christian, good, patriotic Americans are going to go down and vote Democrat? You know, how is that? And I'm not anti-Democrat, but I'm just saying, why don't the leadership in the Democrat Party wake up to what they're doing to this country? But why don't they wake up and see that they just elected number one man is Mr. Perez to head the DNC, Democratic National Committee. Number two man in the DNC is a fellow named Keith Ellison, and he is a Muslim man, and I would say to you that he is a communist and a Muslim. And I would also say to you that he wants to destroy America. He reminds me of another feller that I accused of that, and I believe his name would have been Barack Hussein Obama. I am convinced that that man was a communist and a Muslim, and I am convinced that he set out to destroy America and is still in pursuit of that goal.
That's the evolution or devolution, if you will, of what's happened in this country. And it's been by giving people small doses of socialism until they wake up and find themselves communists, as Khrushchev had said to Cleon Skousen when he was visiting this country.
Yeah, Khrushchev said, "We will take over America and never fire a shot." His words are coming true. As we speak, they're doing that today. They have invaded our school system. They've invaded our universities. Lynn Woolley on his show has stated, and I'll repeat, I'm going to blame it on Lynn Woolley, the department head of journalism at the University of Texas is a man named Robert Jensen. He is a card-carrying, genuine, certified, bona fide communist. And he is producing students that want to go into journalism. They will be the next newscaster on CNN, MSNBC, ABC, whatever it is. How do we expect to remain free when we have communists training other young communists to go to work in the news media?
Well, that's exactly it. If you turn on any of the mainstream media, that's what you get. It's always anti-Trump. It's hateful to Trump, to our president. No matter what he does that's good, they try to find fault in it. And they're basically trying to undermine the presidency by these absurd investigations conducted by Mueller that are basically just witch hunts.
Well, but look at the job Trump has been handed. Now, a lot of people cuss Trump. I don't cuss him. He does some things I don't agree with. He says some things I don't agree with. He puts his foot in his mouth occasionally, and I don't agree with that. But having said that, look at the overall picture of what he has accomplished since being president. How do you argue with that? How do you support a Bernie Sanders for president and support what he wants to do to America? Compare Bernie Sanders, what he wants to do, what his goals are, to what Donald Trump is doing. Compare the two. How many private sector jobs has Bernie Sanders ever had? Oh, none. By his own admission, the first job he ever had was working for the government signing up welfare recipients. That's who we want to make president? Man alive, what are we thinking about? You know, I don't understand the mentality of a lot of Americans nowadays. Look at the Lady Cortez in New York that I guess wants to run for president. She certainly is trying to change the face of the Democrat Party. She has already changed the face, but she didn't have to change anything. They all are in lockstep with what she wants to do. Some newsman just asked a bunch of young people on the street, are you for free education, free college degree, college education, free guaranteed income, and just made the list of free things? And they said, yeah, 100%, you bet, we want that. Then he asked the question, how do you think we ought to pay for it? And just met with dead silence. They're for having everything free, but they don't know how to pay for it. When you asked this woman Cortez how to pay for it, she said, well, with a carbon tax and with increasing tax on corporations. Okay, who do you think is going to pay the carbon tax? And what a ridiculous thing in the first place. If you want a carbon tax to control emissions and greenhouse gases, read the fact that when a volcano goes off, it puts more of that stuff in the atmosphere than all of the automobiles in the world today.
These are these sweet-sounding, feel-good terminology that they ascribe to these programs that are basically insidious in the details.
Yeah. And they don't tell you what the unintended consequences are. You know, you can raise the tax on corporations. Man, yeah, just raise that tax right through the roof. Take all that money away from them evil old corporations, and then watch them move to China, some other country. And where are they going to have employees? Oh, it would be in the country they moved to. It would not be in the United States. So if you think it is so great to increase the taxes on corporations, I got a question for you. Where are you going to work when they leave this country?
And then how are you going to buy these goods if you don't have a job to do that with?
That's right. We saw that happen in Montana. They raised taxes in Montana to the point that all of industry just left. Burlington Northern had repair stations in Montana. They closed all the repair facilities in Montana, and if they had a train breakdown, whatever broke down, they railed it out of Montana into North Dakota or Washington or somewhere, but they got it out of Montana. They couldn't pay the taxes. Burlington Northern Railroad did that. What was the big timber company?
Plum Creek.
Plum Creek Timber had a big facility in Columbia Falls, Montana. They shut it down, sold every living thing there. They even pulled the pump out of the water well and sold the pump. I was at the auction sale when they did that. They totally destroyed everything that they owned in that area and moved it out of the state. Why? Because of corporate taxes. So what we saw happen in Montana is what Bernie Sanders and Ms. Cortez and the left-wing Marxists, whatever you want to call them, the Democrats, that's what they propose to do to the United States.
Well, one of the big buzz terms today is sustainability, which if you don't have people that are working to support their community, to produce not only goods but services for their community and getting paid to do it, how are you going to sustain yourself?
Yeah. You know, like the question, okay, all that's a good idea, how are you going to pay for it? Well, they don't have an answer except to pay for it by raising taxes. How long is that going to last? We saw that it didn't work in Montana. Right now in Chicago, Illinois, and in the state of Illinois,
Which is
how's it
bankrupt.
working out for them?
which is bankrupt.
Yeah. It's not working out too well for them. So what do they do next? You cannot continue to tax and spend, tax and spend, tax and spend without going broke. Uh, Somebody has to pay the bill.
And somebody has to be working in order to do that. But even when they're working, you don't want to tax them to death.
Well, you can tax them out of existence, and that's what the left wing part of the Democrat Party wants to do. There probably are some good conservatives in the Democrat Party.
I wish they'd step forward.
Well, I was just going to say this. There may be some out there, but where are they? Are they deaf, dumb, and blind? What?
I'd like to see them if they are. And I honestly believe that the entire theme of today's Democratic Party is Marxist.
Well,
It's not democratic whatsoever. And this is not a democracy. This is a constitutional republic.
So what does the leadership of the Democrat Party? What is their goal? What do they want to achieve? What do they want for this country?
Well, I honestly think that a lot of them are avowed Marxists. And if they don't fall into that category, the other category is useful idiots, as Stalin had mentioned in the past.
Well, and let's be honest. There are some members of the Republican Party that fall into this same
Category.
category. We've got Republican senators and representatives that are just go along, get alongs. They don't stand up for freedom and liberty and the Republic of the United States of America.
Well, how many of the Republicans are backing the president? Is Paul Ryan backing Trump?
Exactly. And why is Paul Ryan? If Paul Ryan doesn't like Donald Trump,
Why doesn't he resign?
yeah, he's supposed to not run again. Why don't he get the heck out of there?
And why is Mueller being allowed to continue this attack on Trump? Why doesn't Trump fire him? Why doesn't he fire Sessions and Rosenstein? What's going on here?
Well, I tell you what's going on. Donald Trump is between a rock and a hard place. If he lets Rosenstein and Mueller continue what they're doing, they will eventually destroy him. If he fires both of them tomorrow, that will destroy him.
Well, let's back up here. When Bill Clinton assumed the presidency, he fired all the AGs, all the federal AGs. Why can't President Trump do the same?
Oh, he can. He can, but the backlash would be, it would be tremendous.
There wasn't tremendous backlash when Bill Clinton did it.
Yeah, but his name wasn't Donald Trump.
Is he above the law?
No, no. Well,
Sure seems like it.
Bill Clinton is above the law. So is Hillary. But I'm just saying it would be hell to pay if Donald Trump. And I hope Donald Trump does that, because if he does fire that bunch of sorry rascals, then we're going to see who's going to cut or fish or cut bait.
Well, President Trump, if you're listening to us, and I hope you are, you need to get rid of the bums.
Yeah. You're talking about draining the swamp? Let's drain it.
Let's drain it. Don't wade in it. Don't swim in it. Drain it.
Yeah. And as I've said before, if you want to drain the swamp, go get the biggest alligator in there first. And that biggest alligator in that swamp is Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, etc.
These are
and
traitors.
Right now, we have got to go to a break because Eric is giving me the high signs that you got to hush. So I'm going to shut up and let y'all hear the commercial. Okay, folks, here we are back on the Common Sense with Conn call-in talk show. Let me mention now that the call-in phone number here, if you'd like to call in and start a conversation, the phone number here is 254-773-1400. That's 254-773-1400. The other number you can call in, it's a new number we got. It's 254-771-2463. That's 771-2463. So now I might apologize for some background noise I hear, but whatever that is beyond our control. So feel free to call in if you'd like, and we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. If you don't call in, you're going to have to listen to me, and that probably ain't too awful good. But at any rate, Ed brought a little talk here by Robert E. Lee, and I just want to emphasize one part of it. Life are subject to the same rules. Truth and manliness are two qualities that will carry you through this world. Truth and manliness are two qualities that will carry you through this world. Think about that, folks. What does truth mean to us? How valuable is truth? I've told you the story, I think, before, but I'll repeat it again. I had a friend who was an international grain trader. He was retired. And I asked him one day, I said, I've seen him on the Chicago Exchange, how they're out there bidding on contracts, 500 million tons of wheat or whatever it may be. And boy, they're just going 100 miles an hour, and somebody buys it. And I said, how do they write up that contract that fast? He said, we don't. I said, how do you expect them to honor the contract if there's no written contract? He said, because if anybody ever violates that verbal contract, they will never trade grain in the world again. Never again. They're out forever and ever and ever. So that's how much truth means in that particular industry. Now, that may not be true now, but it was then, and that was about 30 years ago. But think about the value of truth, and how does this society survive without coming from a foundation of truth? I think we have got a fellow named Rick on the phone. He's going to tell me how we do all this. Rick, are you there?
Yeah. Good morning. Good afternoon, Conn and Ed.
Well,
you guys are having a good show today.
Well, we're enjoying it. So, what you got on your mind today?
Well, I'm sure glad that that President Trump and his administration are working on getting Americans out, whether they're alive or dead, out of these countries that have them against their will, especially the ones that are alive. But it's amazing what he's done with and I know for a fact that he's been at this stuff since day one. It's not like it's not like Obama, who just sort of ignored all the Americans that were being held hostage or imprisoned for stupid things in places like North Korea and Turkey.
Well, Obama was all talk and no do, Rick.
I don't even think that was on his radar.
No, I don't think so either. It was not important to him.
And he had bad intent.
Yeah. What were his intentions?
And you remember that poor fella that made a wrong turn, and he was a veteran, and he made a wrong turn and went into Mexico, and he tried to tell him, hey, I just made a wrong turn. I just want to go back. But he had a gun, and they put him in jail. And it seemed like nobody did anything for a long time, and he just...
And what he did, there was no way for him to do a U-turn and get out of there. It was a pure accident. But nobody tried to help him.
I think he served his whole sentence or whatever it was.
Well, and you look at the effort that Trump has put into bringing back our live people and our dead ones. And and I understand that bringing back the remains of servicemen to some American, that means nothing, absolutely nothing. Well, if it was your kinfolks, it would mean something. Uh, you could have closure that, you could know that his remains were back here where they belong. Uh, to me, that's a big deal. And I know that to the left wing people in this country, it means nothing, but it means something to me, and it would to anyone that had kinfolks remains still in over there in Korea. But
I agree. I agree.
yeah.
There's a before. I know we don't have much time here.
Oh, go ahead.
So I want to bring up something that I'm not sure too many people know. The reason Facebook is losing so much money, there's a lot of reasons, but one reason is people don't trust them anymore. There were these two black ladies named Diamond and Silk that were really pro-Trump, and they were really funny and they were fun to listen to. And they put on videos on YouTube and on Facebook, and they were real popular, and they were just talking about how great Trump was. Well, you know what they did? They shadow banned them to where nobody could see what they were doing. And then in YouTube's case, they made it where they couldn't get paid for their videos anymore. So those ladies lost not only a source of income because of these anti-American people, but they also lost, they thought they were putting stuff on Facebook and everybody was seeing it, but they didn't realize that they were just talking to themselves, because with the algorithms, Facebook made it to where nobody could see what they were doing.
That's a great point, Rick. This is censorship in America. I can recall the days when the left was crying that they were not giving freedom of expression. And basically what you're describing is censorship. We have a First Amendment. If these companies like Facebook and Twitter and the rest of them don't want to give free expression to people like Silk and Diamond or anybody else, they want to shadow ban them, then they should be banned.
Well, and Facebook is getting what they deserve. It's back to what I keep saying about truth. When Facebook will not allow someone to speak truth on Facebook, then I hope Facebook goes dead broke. They deserve to go dead broke if they want to censor truth out of our conversations. I think Eric is telling me that we're going to have to go break here just a minute. But Rick, hey, I appreciate your calls as always.
All right, thank you.
You be careful out there.
You too. Bye.
Y'all just hang in there. We're going to be back in just a few minutes. Don't tell me it's 1 o'clock. Oh, get them boots on, folks, and get on that sawdust floor and grab that good-looking woman and go to dancing. That's some of that good old Texas music right there now. You don't hear that in Korea and places like that. You just hear that in the United States of America, mostly in the South, mostly in Texas. That's why I've said before, and I am not at all ashamed of the fact that I am very proud to be an American. I am very proud to be a Southerner, and I am very proud to be a Texan. I'm proud of all that, and I don't back up not 1 second. Okay, let's talk just a little bit about Extreme Hose and Hydraulics. They're right over here on General Bruce Drive. They are at 5300 South General Bruce Drive, and their phone number is 254-231-3403. That's 231-3403. Now, if you need a hydraulic hose built, got one on your old farm tractor or your excavator or your bulldozer or whatever it may be, you take that hydraulic hose in there and you talk to Frank. That is a family-owned business. Frank and Christy Talley is who owns that. And you just take that hose in there, or whatever it is hydraulically you need fixed, you just take them in there and they will fix that hose quick, fast, and in a hurry. I've been using them for quite a while, and they have sure been good to me as far as fixing hoses and things like that. Anyway, go in there and talk to them. And if you need an after hours phone number that you might need to do sometime, that number is 254-717-5562. That's 717-5562. I was in there not long ago, and Frank told me that he had a customer come in and commented on the fact that he had heard the ad on the Common Sense with Conn show. And Frank sure did appreciate that input, and I appreciated it even more than Frank did. So if y'all patronize one of our sponsors, be sure and mention to them that you heard about them on the Common Sense with Conn show, because that might encourage them to keep sponsoring the show. And along that line now, if you know someone who would like to sponsor the show, but we always need sponsors, the phone number to call is 300-1885. That's 300-1885. Call that number and my wife will hook you up with how to sponsor this show. Another one I want to talk about here just a little bit pretty quick is Bill Schumann. Doggone, I don't know how many of y'all know Bill Schumann, but he's the commissioner of Precinct 3, and he is just a good guy. Just he's the kind of politicians that we need. I wish he would run for El Presidente or something. He's a good guy. He's commissioner of Bell County Precinct 3, and I sure hope we can keep him in office. Now, he's not running right now, but when he does run, y'all remember that name, Bill Schumann, because he's a good guy. Another thing I want to mention is the Nolanville DAV. That's Nolanville Disabled Vets. Talk to old Greg Dunham up there. If you are a vet or the spouse of a vet, disabled vet, if you need some help, some information, some input, whatever it is, you get a hold of old Greg Dunham up there, and his phone number is 859-620-0879. Let me repeat that. It's 859-620-0879. They're located at 4601 East Avenue H in Nolanville. They are just good people. I've been up there several times, and I'm here to tell you that is a clean, neat facility, well managed, well run, and just good people. So if you're a disabled vet and you need something, you go by there and talk to old Greg. He'll dadgum sure help you. Okay, I guess we better get back to the show, but before we do, let me mention Alpha Tech Services in Spiegelville. Their address actually is not Spiegelville. It's 8468 North Highway 6 in Waco. But it's on Highway 6. You cross the lake dam, and it's up there on the right. But if you need hydraulic work done, like on cylinders or hydraulic motors or control valves, we just took a valve up there and had it fixed. I have seen them work on like pavement breakers, like on an excavator, that kind of thing. If you need some of that kind of work done, you get a hold of old Larry Cobb up there, and he will get you fixed up. His phone number, y'all get your ballpoint pen out. His phone number is 254-848-9981. 848-9981. Y'all need his services for something, you give Larry a call and he'll get you fixed up. He's here again, he's just a good patriotic, freedom loving American. And I think that by and large that's who sponsors this show. Just good people that love freedom, love America, and I really do appreciate their support, because we have to have them. If y'all want to keep this show on the air, we're going to have them, because I don't make a dime out of this show. I do it. I give my time away, but I can't give away my money because I don't have any. So y'all keep that in mind if you want to keep this show on the air. I need some sponsors always. Okay, back to the business at hand here. We got all kind of stuff to talk about today. So if y'all can think of something to call in and talk about, well, the phone number here is 254-773-1400, or the other phone line is 254-771-2463. Okay, what we were talking about is the abandonment of truth in America, the abandonment of traditional value. One of those values being truth. Another one of those traditional values is masculinity. There seems to be an effort to destroy manliness, destroy masculinity. And now some of the universities are calling it toxic masculinity. You know, it's a horrible thing to be masculine. Well, I got a question for us. After you have destroyed masculine people, men, and strong women, let me add that, strong men and strong women, after you have destroyed that, and you've turned the country over to girly men and weak men and women, who's going to protect the innocent? Who's going to protect the weak? Who's going to protect America?
Conn, if I may, I would like to make one point, which would be the main point I would like to establish on this program, is to appeal to President Trump to get rid of the adversaries seeking to undermine his agenda that he stated in his campaign to make America great, and those seeking to undermine the American Constitution, the American people, and the American way of life. I think that he should get rid of Mueller, Rosenstein, and even Jeff Sessions, and the deep staters that are working against the best interests of the American people, our Constitution, and our way of life. That would be my message to President Trump if I could speak to him.
Well, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think it would, it's a two-sided thing. If he really drains the swamp, he's going to make so many enemies out of the establishment, the people that are eating off of the corruption. They're really going to come after him tooth and nail. But if he doesn't do it, they're going to destroy the country.
Exactly.
And if he doesn't get rid of all the Obama holdovers, the Bob Mueller, Rosenstein, people like that. Uh, look at what they were doing. Look at the FBI and the Department of Justice. They've been operating much like another group in another country. That other group would be the KGB or the SS people.
That's a good analogy. That's an excellent analogy.
They're doing the same thing the KGB does.
They're operating outside the government.
That's right.
From within.
And someone said not long ago, in Russia they say, give me a man's name and I'll find the crime.
That's
well,
right.
That's exactly what they're doing. Paul Manafort, whoever, anybody associated with Donald Trump, give the FBI a name and they'll find a crime to attach to that name.
We elected President Trump to do a job. The goals that he stated in his agenda and his campaign to stop the invasion across the border and to make America great again and to get rid of the deep state, to drain the swamp. Well, he needs to drain the swamp.
Well, he better. But you think about this now. If you think it's okay for the FBI to keep digging until they find some kind of a violation of the law, let me remind you of something. There is now 350,000 criminal violations in the United States. 350,000. What that means to me is, give me a name, Joe Smith, Eric Johnson, whatever. Give a name and they'll find some law out of the 350,000 that they can nail on him.
Well, basically, they've given him the rectal exam. They've picked up every triviality that they can that is not pertinent to him governing the country properly. Whatever he may have done in the past, whatever indiscretion he may have done, has no effect on his ability to rule the country.
Yeah, and if all else fails, go down to LaGrange to the chicken ranch and find one of those ladies down there that used to work at the chicken ranch. Give them $500 cash, and they'll have a story to tell about Donald Trump or Joe Smuckbinder or anybody else that they want to get something on.
There'll always be a hooker that'll pop out of the crevice and have something to say, whether it's true or whether it's not true.
Yeah, Stormy Daniels or somebody. But my point is, if you like them doing that against Donald Trump, you're really going to like it when they do it to you. And I'm talking about the mayor, the city councilman, the county commissioner, the sheriff, whoever it may be. If you like the FBI coming after Donald Trump's friends, you're really going to like it when they come after your friends.
The old saying is you can indict a ham sandwich. If that was true way back when, it's even more true now with all the laws that are on the books. There was a Roman historian named Tacitus that observed that the more numerous the laws, the more corrupt the state.
Well, and that's very true if you think about it. We're just creating more statutes for them to use against us. Now, we have to have laws. We all agree to that.
No doubt.
We have to have laws, but how many statutes passed by the legislators, whether it be state or federal, how many of those statutes, number one, may or may not be constitutional, and how many of them are just feel-good legislation?
You know, I'd like to recall the words of James Madison. James Madison is credited with the writing of the Constitution more so than any of the other founding fathers. He said three things that kind of stand out to me. The first is, if our nation is ever taken over, it will be taken over from within. The second is, crisis is the rallying cry of the tyrant. The third is, if tyranny and oppression come to this land, it'll be in the guise of fighting a foreign enemy. These are all masquerades they're just a ruse.
Talking about the crisis, what did Rahm Emanuel say? Never let a good crisis go to waste. Just exactly emphasizing what you just said. Any kind of a crisis that the left can create, well, they make the most of it. And what they do is they use that crisis as create emotional hysteria, in the country.
That playlist keeps repeating itself over and over ad nauseum. People need to wake up and they need to resist. They need to speak out. Stand up and speak out.
Well, a good example of the emotional hysteria is the children at the border.
Oh,
You know, look at how much emotion that has created, and nobody wants to see children separated from their parents.
well, this was going
But-
on under Obama. Did anybody complain about it then?
They didn't complain during Obama,
Why
but
not?
my question is, pray tell me, who was it held a gun to those parents' head and made them bring those children up here?
That's right.
What did they think was going to happen?
It's a felony to cross that border illegally.
Yeah,
It's
so-
not a misdemeanor, it's a felony.
But now, Democrats are proposing, I forgot who the Democrat was, he's proposing that we give reparation to the families whose children were separated. So, you know, how many millions of dollars are we going to give away to reward people who committed a felony crime by coming across the border with their kids? Are we going to reward them with reparation, with taxpayer dollars?
That's
Are we gonna-
ludicrous.
Are we going to pay them to violate the law? You know, I've been saying for months now, when you reward bad behavior, what do you expect to get more of?
Bad behavior.
If you reward those parents for bringing those kids up here, don't you understand that when you give them money, they're going to pick up the cell phone and call their kinfolks in Guatemala, Honduras, wherever it is, and say, listen, I just got so many $1,000 for bringing my kid up here. Get your kids and come on.
If people want to come into this country, they need to do it legally.
Yes, and if they violate the law, they need to suffer the consequences.
That-
If you go out here and rob the store and you go to jail, you're going to suffer the consequences for breaking the law. If you don't suffer the consequences, are you going to be encouraged to break the law again? Of course you will. Now, Eric is telling me that we have got another break, so y'all just bear with us. We'll be back in just a minute. Hang in there. Talk to 'em, Bob. Doggone some of that good old American-made Texas music on the air right there. But we better get back on the Common Sense with Conn show. Okay, one thing I want to bring up that just makes me so that blame mad I can't see straight. The protesters outside Maxine Waters' office burning our American flag and shouting, "America never was great." If you want to shout America never was great, you have the freedom of speech. Somebody ought to have the freedom. Well, I better shut up.
Well, Conn, a Frenchman observed many years ago, I believe it was Thoreau, stated that America is great because America is good. When America ceases to be good, it will cease to be great.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as we do these people that shout America never was great and they burn the American flag, are they good Americans? Do they love America?
I wonder if they ever if they would try to do that in Red China.
Exactly, or North Korea, or there's a lot of places around. Go to Cuba and do that.
Yeah, sure. Or Venezuela.
Yeah. If you hate America so bad, go to Cuba.
Nobody's holding them back.
No, you could almost swim that far. Get on down there. I guess, boy, I lose patience really, really quick with people like that. I have no use for them, none whatsoever. But here is somebody on the phone that is going to tell us what we ought to do with folks like that. Yes, caller, go ahead.
Yeah, Conn, this is Joe in Temple.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad I didn't have to have a roll of nickel or dime to put in the payphone to call you, because I'd have probably been through $150 by now.
Oh,
You guys got an antiquated phone system like I've never seen in my life, man. It's crazy.
well, I don't know what's happening to our phones, but we got a real problem some kind.
I hear you. But, I just want to throw out a couple thoughts to you there. And I understand your feeling on Facebook, and I agree wholeheartedly. But neither me, you, or even if I won the $522 million last week could change the way Facebook is. There's only one way to change it, and that's the way the nation is changing watching channels. CNN, from the last thing that I read, is one of the lowest rated news positions that's going on.
I
so
think that's
people
correct.
are actually getting the message, understanding. So, we need to do.
Well, if Facebook is hurting financially, so be it.
Listening to this. So what do we do to change? How can we change? Well, we can't let any more Democrats get elected, no matter where they are. So if we bring, and we can only handle the folks that are in Texas, hopefully within the listing area. But if we get that broadcast message out there and talk to people and let them know that, hey, you can make a difference, not just by listening to this show, but by showing up at the poll and voting and doing all those kinds of things. That's a positive reaction to a negative situation that we're trying to resolve.
Well,
and to me, that's where we need to stay focused and move forward on.
absolutely, Joe, and I appreciate your comments because they are dead on right. The one that can change the direction that we're going in is us.
Absolutely.
We the
Absolutely.
people. If we sit back and just say nothing and do nothing, the old saying, silence is consent. Well, if you remain silent, then I guess you agree with it.
Well, that was a song in the 60s, I believe. Simon and Garfunkel. Silence is golden, but not in this democratic atmosphere. We have to be vocal. We have to say what's on our mind, and not let the younger generation, which is, and I'm sure you see it the way I do, they're the ones that are being influenced and pushed and being paid or whatever. I don't know, but I'm sure there's something underhanded going on.
Well,
That's what we've got to change.
I'm going to take partial blame for that, Joe. As my generation, now I tried to raise kids to know what freedom was all about. But my generation and the generation after me, they did not raise their children to teach them about freedom and liberty and things of value. They didn't do that. They were too busy enjoying the good life. And they're going to lose the good life because they're so damn busy enjoying it. And I don't understand why we can't figure that out. You know, it's like if you inherit $1 million. If you are so busy and so happy spending the $1 million, you're going to wake up dead broke. Well, that's the way we are in this country. We are so busy enjoying the good life, we're not protecting the good life.
Well, and the crazy part, Con, is it's already starting, and I'm sure you're aware of California and what they're proposing in some county down there. They're going to the county $500 a month. That's part of the social, I guess, atmosphere. And you know, how long does that last? How long does $500 last in California? I'm sure not even 2 days. So if it starts there, then that's what we hope to continue to bring across the country. It's crazy. I don't understand it at all.
Well, I guess I'd ask the question, Joe, that I do a lot. Whatever happened to common sense? Whatever happened to logic and just rational thinking? When the lady Cortez, the Democrat in New York, when she proposes to give everybody a minimum livable wage, everybody a free college education, everybody free food, everybody free this, everybody free everything, free medical care, free college, free everything. Ask her who's going to pay for it.
That's the bottom line. Who is going to foot the bill?
Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately, it's guys like me and you and a lot of our listeners, unfortunately. But they don't foot the bill because we and don't going on.
I think we lost you, Joe. You must have dropped your phone or something there. Well, Joe and I are both making the same point, and that is, if the general public don't wake up to how stupid these proposals are, we're going to destroy this country. You know, this woman Cortez, she wants to give everybody everything free. Some wise man said many, many years ago, when any society figures out it can vote itself benefits, it will self-destruct. So true. That is so true. If we elect Democrats, Republicans, or anybody else on the basis that we're going to get something free, if that's why we vote for somebody, we are voting to destroy the country we live in. I got a question for you. Where are your kids and grandkids going to live after you've destroyed this country? Do you not care about your children and grandchildren? You know, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I'm worried about what my grandchildren might see. I got news for you. You better be worried about what you're going to see, because this is coming on so fast. We're not talking about the destruction of America happening 50 years from now or 150 years from now. We're talking about the destruction of America happening as we speak.
You know, Conn, the things that you're describing and alluding to here, I think are probably aptly described in what's known as the Tytler cycle. The Tytler cycle basically says people come out of bondage through spiritual faith. From there they develop courage. From courage comes liberty. Out of liberty comes abundance. From abundance begets selfishness. Selfishness begets complacency. Complacency begets apathy. Apathy begets dependence. Then it starts over with bondage again.
Yeah, that's true. And we are in the last half of that cycle. I really do believe that. And I hate to say it, but I'm just trying to sound the watch cry, folks. And one thing I would encourage all of us to do when you vote, especially in the primaries, when you want to vote for a candidate in the primaries, do a little bit of research. Look at what bills he has voted for. And I don't care if he's a Democrat, Republican, or Independent, I don't care what he is. look at what he stands for. Look at the bills that he has sponsored and or voted for. I can think of one man that's a representative. Everything he has voted for, I'm against. Well, why do I want to vote for him? Let's look at who we're voting for, and let's support the good, freedom-loving representatives and senators, and let's try to get rid of the bad ones. If they're just a go along, get along representative or senator, let's get rid of them and get somebody in there that'll stand for something. Right now, we've got a Senate race that involves Ted Cruz and some liberal from El Paso named O'Rourke or something like that. Well, we know what Ted Cruz stands for. We don't know what that other guy stands for. So, do we want to quit a winning horse in the middle of the creek? I don't think so. I don't want to. So we had better get out there and support Ted Cruz, and we better. And not all Republicans are perfect. I'm the first to admit that, but they're the best we've got right now. Now they can be improved, but the time to improve the Republicans is in the primary. It's not in the upcoming general election, because if you vote for a Democrat, you are voting to destroy this country. Believe me. And we got a caller on the line. I think it would be AC. AC, are you there?
Yes, sir.
What?
I am here. Good afternoon to you and Ed.
Well, thank you. How are you doing today?
I'm enjoying your show. Y'all are entertaining. Not to be corrective, but the man was Tacoville. And he was correct. Yeah, Alexis de Tocqueville.
Thank you.
He toured the United States years ago. But anyhow, those times are gone, but I have not given up. And you just got through saying a mouthful, my friend. There are two viable political parties remaining in America. And the key term is viable. Viability is the key. One represents the complete demise of our Constitution, our very freedoms. The other is our last best hope with leaders like Donald Trump. Now, I've been on my soapbox. I've said my piece.
Yeah, but it's a good soapbox, AC, and we have got to keep hammering that point home, AC, because I've heard so many people say, well, I'm not going to vote for the lesser of two evils. And my response is, okay, don't. Then you get the worst of two evils. What kind of a victory is that?
Well,
we better vote for the best we can vote for in every election, and that right now is sure not a Democrat. So we better be thinking about this, boys.
Well, I'm not going to beat up on any of my co-members of my party. I am a Republican, as you know, and I'm going to die a Republican as long as there's hope for our country. There's two creations of man. One's the Constitution, and the other is the Bible. We better start paying attention.
Now, AC, you got to be careful, because somebody might interpret that to mean that you are a gun-loving, Bible-toting, freedom-loving American. Heaven forbid.
Well, I will admit to part of that. I don't tote a Bible with me. I don't need it. I've got a pocket version of the Constitution, which is easy because it's simple. It's small, but it's simple and powerful. I do tote.
Yeah, and I think we need more of those gun-toting, Bible-carrying Christians, freedom-loving, patriotic Americans, and I'm getting to where I have less and less patience for those people who want to burn the American flag and say that America was never great.
Can I change the subject a minute?
Yeah.
I agree with one of your previous callers. The phone system is terrible. I know you pay good money for that time down there. Your sponsors do. Excuse me. They need to furnish you with a better phone system. Also, why am I hearing, since you're buying that show, paying for it with your sponsorship and everything, why am I hearing public service announcements on there? Not at the top of the hour. I'm talking about during your show.
Yeah, and and I don't agree with that, AC. Like the AARP ads, I don't know who
Yes, sir.
does those, but I think they're anti-traditional value, anti-American, anti-everything that I hold dear. I
Well,
wouldn't buy AARP insurance if it was free. If you listen to those,
if this is Common Sense with Conn show and your sponsors are paying for these 2 hours, is the radio station getting money for that? Make a deduct. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear Conn and Ed and whoever else you got on there.
Right on, AC.
that's an excellent point, AC. I'm going to bring it up. And
Well, I didn't call to complain, but I voiced my opinion, and you've known me a long time. I've been free with my opinion.
Well,
I haven't always been right, but I always thought I was.
But that's what America's all about, AC. That's what makes America great.
Y'all keep up. I'll let somebody else call. Y'all keep up the good work.
Okay, thank you, AC. You be careful out there.
You bet.
And we are going to break, folks. Y'all hang in there, and we'll be right back.
Now, okay. Hello, folks out there in Radio Land. My name is Ed Dunn. I'm guest hosting with Mr. Conn on the Common Sense with Conn program, and he's unavailable at the moment, so you're going to have to put up with me here for a few moments. And what I would like to do is I would like to start the program off with quotes from some founding fathers. Not that I can't speak for myself, but I like to refer to the founding fathers and their words because it bespeaks of the original intent and the spirit of the Constitution. I'd like to start off with my favorite president, Thomas Jefferson, who said, "In matters of politics, speak to me not in confidence of man, but bind them down from mischief with the chains of the Constitution." And I think that's something that we need to be very alert about in today's world in dealing with things that are said politically by elected officials and unelected officials. These unelected bureaucrats who are behind the scenes manipulating what's really going on in our government. And let's see, let me find another one here that is apropos. Oh, Conn is back.
Yeah, I finally made it. I just heard on the news this morning that the Iranian government has for quite a while now been doing covert operations trying to sabotage not just America but our friends and allies around the world. And this covert operations was just ignored by the Obama administration. You know, when are we going to wake up to who and what Barack Obama was? If you remember 10 years ago, when Obama first came on the scene, I talked to Lynn Woolley one day, and I said, Barack Obama is a communist and a Muslim. Well, I think that he proved me correct every day he was in office. And I will stand by what I said then, and I'll keep saying it, because who did he show favor to? Cuba, a communist country. Iran, a Muslim country. Look at the things that he and his administration did.
Well, you know now, Conn, you're going to have to bring up Benghazi and how those arms were supplied to Syria, and join in with Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, it's and you're right. I need to sure enough include Hillary and Bill Clinton in that gang of whatever you want to call
Isn't
them.
that collusion or conspiracy?
It's collusion, conspiracy, anti-American. It's everything that I hate to see, and they were never punished for it.
Why is that?
Look at the gun running to the drug cartel in Mexico. They were never punished for that. Eric Holder was subpoenaed by Congress, and he told Congress to go to hell.
You mean gun runner Holder?
Yeah, gun runner Holder. And
how about that?
How was he and Barack Obama punished for their actions while in office?
Are they above the law?
Apparently they are.
You mean there's two sets of laws?
There's two sets of laws. One set for, or the absence of a set, for Hillary, Obama, Eric Holder, etc. And the other set applies to the rest of us Americans. And that's what I'm saying. There's 350,000 criminal violations. They can come get Ed any day they want to, or Conn, or Eric, or anybody else. If they want to get you, they'll figure out. The FBI will figure out how to get you, just like the KGB in Russia would figure out how to get you. Well, what's the difference?
Is this none dare call it conspiracy, or none dare call it treason?
Exactly. Remember those old books? They were calling the shot then, and that was 30 years ago, or whenever it was. But there is so much of that stuff going on, and I hate to be a pessimist, but if we don't wake up, folks, we're going to lose this country. And I'm telling you, it's going to be the Obamas and the Clintons that destroys it.
Those that fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it.
See, I have a name for the myth, the Greek mythology about the Trojan horse. You know what the Trojan horse's name was?
What was that?
It was Barack Hussein Obama.
I guess so.
That was that horse's name. You know, we opened the gate and brought the horse in, and it's going to destroy the country. And when are we going to wake up to that?
Well, he's still at it, you know. He has residence in Washington, probably a mile from the White House. And as far as I'm concerned, he always was an agitator and he's still an agitator.
Well, what were his qualifications to become president?
He was an agitator,
He was a community organizer.
an agitator.
Yeah, an agitator. Is that what that and his skin color, and I won't get into that, but do we now place so much value on skin color that we are willing to sacrifice the nation? What,
Isn't someone's qualifications for office to be the best suited to hold that office?
well, it should be. It should be. And now, as I said to y'all earlier, have we traded God and religion and the gospel? Have we traded that for a new religion called diversity? Are we so involved in the need for diversity that we're willing to destroy the country? Are we willing to destroy white leadership, manly leadership in order to get more diversity? What is the value to diversity? Why do you want to destroy white Christians in order to get more Muslims or Islamics or anything? I don't care what it is. I don't care if they're Hindus. White Christians is what made this country as great as it is. So if you want to destroy the country, how's the best way to do it?
What was that Robert E. Lee said? Truth and manliness?
Yeah, and right now the subject that you hear all the time is how awful toxic masculinity is. Okay, think about that. Think about the law of nature. In nature, it's the survival of the fittest. It has always been that way. I've got some cows and I've got a bull that's just a pretty big old boy. All right, you don't want to mess with that bull. You don't want to mess with those baby calves because that bull or their mother is going to do something bad to you. Okay, it's the masculinity, if you will, or the manliness or the strength of that is who protects the others. If you destroy all of the masculinity, if you destroy the strongest in the herd, what happens to the weak in the herd? They get devoured. Our society is the same way. If you destroy, quote unquote, toxic masculinity, go ahead and destroy it. Then who's going to protect the country? Who's going to protect the weak? If you destroy the strong, that's also the ones that pay the taxes and work and produce things. Go ahead and destroy them. Then what do you have left? Oh, you have the girly men left and the weakness left. Who's going to protect them? Nobody. I'm telling you, I hate to sound so pessimistic, but we had better wake up to what our universities and our colleges are doing to this country. Look at what they're teaching our young people. My goodness.
It's not an education, it's an indoctrination.
It is. It's propaganda. In Russia, they called it perestroika. That's the Russian word for propaganda, and that's what we're seeing here. Look at CNN, MSNBC, and Eric is holding up two fingers, which tells me we got 2 minutes left out of this 2 hours. Ed, you being here made it go fast. That blame your time?
Well, it's been a great time being here with you and being on the air. And I wish we would have had more input from callers to get their take on what we were discussing today.
Well,
but if nothing else, let's leave them with our thoughts and encourage them to remain strong, to resist the tyranny, and to do the right thing.
And be patriotic to this great free nation that's the greatest in the history of the world. Let's don't cuss the nation. Let's help the nation. Let's help keep it strong. I have zero patience for those. I'm like that old country music song. When you're running down our country horse, you're working on the fighting side of me. And Eric is telling me that we're going to have to end this for this Saturday, but we're going to do this again next Saturday, folks. So if y'all have a change and have something to talk about, well, we're going to do this again next Saturday at 12 o'clock again. And until then, we will see you then.